What is going on, YouTube? Twitchy Tango here, and I know I said I'd be consistent. Well, that was a lie. You'll just have to forgive me for it. All joking aside, I got the blue screen of death on my computer for the first time, so I was kind of unable to record or edit or upload or do anything of that nature. I've been playing a game recently. I've just finished. No, it's not the critically acclaimed Elden Ring. It's not the heavily criticized, but still somewhat enjoyable Cyberpunk 2077. No, I've been playing a game from a bygone era. A game that, as of October this year, will be 25 years old. That game is Fallout 1. I can't claim to be a Fallout fan if I haven't played the OGs. But again, you don't believe the idea that you have to play and consume everything to be a fan. I, for the longest time, only played Fallout 3 until I played New Vegas. I played 4, 76. Not played Fallout Tactics or Fallout. Is it Brotherhood of Steel? I haven't played those. I don't think I ever will because I heard they're quite atrocious. No, I decided to play Fallout 1. I bought it last year as part of a combo, I think, for Fallout 3. And I just never got into it, mainly because I tried it and died. It was difficult. It was a pain in the ass. So I decided to look up guides and see where I go. And so 25 hours into the game, I beat it. And all I can say is Fallout was a very different thing when it was created. Tim Kaine made something that truly is beautiful. It satirizes the nuclear family, capitalism, the military, Americans' military complex, and it does it so well. Nowadays, Fallout just does something different. It's no longer the game it was of yesteryear, though, to be fair. Fallout 2 sort of saw that shift away from the dark morbidness of Fallout when it was originally created. And then sometimes, just sometimes,
Death is a preferable alternative.
thanks you amalgamation of capitalism, Liberty Prime. I wonder what Tim Kaine thinks about Liberty Prime and his baby once Bethesda took it over. And I gotta say, I'm not one of those elitists or purists that believes he needs 4K 60 FPS. That's why I literally go back to Knights of the Republic 1 and 2 on a yearly basis, because it's something of an era when games for me were at its purest and enjoyable. Now games are commercialized, MTXs, and not delivered as promised. Looking at you, Cyberpunk 2077, I could probably name a bunch, but that's probably the freshest one on my mind. Fallout 1 is very much a relic of an era that no longer exists. When games were made and completed at launch, games took less time to create, and the vision was seen through to the end. Though I'm sure there are several examples of games during that era of gaming that were not completed at launch. But what can you do about that sometimes, you know? I gotta say though, my experience with Fallout was very much a Fallout experience. The game had several traits that are very much entrenched into New Vegas, which makes sense because once Black Isle Studios closed down, a lot of people navigated towards Obsidian, and a lot of the people who worked on Fallout 1 and 2 are at Obsidian, so it kind of makes sense that it's very similar in that regards to New Vegas is very similar in that regards to Fallout 1. And it's very similar in a lot of ways, as whereas you can't just have an overpowered character like you could in 3, 4, and even 76. You have to focus on the three main traits that you want to focus on, which I think for me when I redid my character was like, I think I worked on speech, guns, and repair. I don't think it was repair. It was something like speech, guns, and something else. But then I got an energy weapon and I realized what a mistake that was. But it doesn't allow you to become overpowered. Essentially, if you have a high enough speech, you can get whatever you want, similar into New Vegas, which, depending on the faction you choose to side with, whether it's independent New Vegas, if you're an absolute chode and choose Caesar's Legion, or you prefer the broken democratic shtick of the NCR, you can literally persuade the last boss to give up the fight and flee and never do anything else and just realize that their ways are wrong. Which is essentially what you can do at the end of Fallout 1 with Big Baddie the Master. I did it backwards. I went and destroyed the Super Mutants first instead of destroying the Fallout or destroying the Master first, but it's still quite funny what you can do with the Master. Essentially, you can do one or two things. You can join them and rat out your vault, which is pretty dark and messed up. You don't see dark endings like that as often anymore. Really messed up. Though I think Cyberpunk 2077 has a pretty messed up ending to say the least. It's pretty messed up. It's very dark and morbid, and I think that's what makes Fallout one the darker of its entries in its series. It's very messed up. It's very dark, and I think that's what makes it work. Or you can do the opposite, other thing, which is essentially the good ending, and tell the master that what he is doing is wrong, and that his mutants will be dead after a generation, thus telling him to give up all hope and blowing himself up with a nuke. Yeah, it doesn't get any darker than that, and it's still hilarious. Fallout 2, from my understanding, is more what we know of Fallout today, similar to Fallout 3, New Vegas, 476. And you can't talk your way out of the final boss. You literally have to kill the Enclave and end him. And that works. It just freaking works, folks. It just works. As I put 25 hours into Fallout 1, I thought this is a game from an era when things were different. Like I was saying earlier, it took less time to make games. A creator would see their vision through, and a game wasn't released on broken promises and lies. Fallout 1 is very much that. Tim Kaine created something truly remarkable, truly fantastic, and we should be thankful for what he helped bring into the gaming sphere, because many people love Fallout to this day, despite it going away from what it used to be. Fallout New Vegas is generally praised as one of the best Fallouts, and it's not even a Bethesda Fallout. Fallout 3 is arguably one of my favorite games of all time, but it just doesn't hold a candle to New Vegas. And New Vegas was only given 18 months to be created and developed. If you don't know this, most development takes about 2 to 3 years. It's almost like Bethesda didn't want them to succeed, and it might also have to do with the fact that Skyrim was coming out, and they didn't want them to conflict with it. But I don't know. Game development is weird. I'm not a part of it. I wouldn't know. But again, Fallout 1 fucks. Even, I'm not one of those purists who needs 4K, like I was saying, 4K 60 FPS. I'm fine with just playing an old game. Old games sometimes, scratch the itch that these hyper realistic, over insanely looking games just don't give me anymore. And I think that's why I enjoy Knights of the Old 1 and 2 so much, is because it's not hyper realistic. It makes me appreciate the characters more, because it is definitely a relic of its time. And so is Fallout 1. This definitely isn't your son's Fallout. This is more like your cool uncle's Fallout, where your companions can die, and quite horribly, I might add. All my companions, by the time I got to the end of my journey, were all dead. Even Dogmeat, the precious dog we've known from every Fallout iteration, he got split in half by a laser rifle. My first companion, Ian, was straight up shot. And I mean shot. Shot into pieces by a rocket launcher. And then the Follow the Apocalypse chick was disintegrated. And then this other guy, who was sort of a ranger, so to speak, he got turned to mush by a plasma rifle. So yeah, it's definitely holds no holds bar on the characters you all know and love, that you bond with and fight with. It cares nothing for it, and even the perk system is very similar to New Vegas, where you don't get a perk every level like you did with Fallout 3. Like I said, the traits are very similar. You have to stick with these certain aspects, because that's how you're going to build your character around. And I thought it was fascinating. I brought this up in my Elden Ring video, but it does not give you a clear indication of where you need to go, where you need to start. It just gives you a location, that's where you go. And that's interesting. I like games when they don't hold your hand. I say that a lot in Elden Ring. Games don't need to hold your hand to be a good game, though it doesn't hurt if they hold your hand. Nothing wrong with it. I did say in Elden Ring that a little less hand holding, but again, sometimes it doesn't hurt if the game gives you a hint here and now. Or if you just if you just get a freaking little hint that tells you to go towards this area, and you fall off a cliff and lose your 20,000 souls. That hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it, and I feel bad for people. Gotta love the trolls, man. I don't know, man. I think games are great when they're simple, and simplistic. Fallout 1 is that and more. I like everything from the characters, the setting, the quest felt very good. I like that if you focus on what there's one skill that you can do called I think Countryman or Survivor. It's something like that where you can essentially find find these events throughout it. Like when I boosted my stuff up a good bit to like 50, I saw the Tartarus or I saw a dinosaur footprint or you can even find the alien blaster with like Elvis clothes on them. Like all this stuff that makes it a Fallout experience. Fallout has always, curtsied with the fact of space invaders and alien. Heck, Fallout 3 had a DLC focused on aliens. So I kind of like that there was a certain skill that gave you weirder, wilder encounters, which is something similar to a trait in Fallout New Vegas called Wild Wasteland. I think Fallout 1 is great. Will I go back to it again anytime soon? It may be part of my yearly catalog of going back to old games. I may just go back to Fallout 1 on a yearly basis next year and just start playing through the Fallout games. But to each is his own. Different strokes for different folks. But honestly, as we get to the end of this video, I want to hear what you think. What is a game you go back to that is an old game from a bygone era that you just swear up and down is the greatest game ever made? That's for me, it's not the Old Republic 1 or 2. Not the Old Republic 2 is a far superior game to 1. Don't at me. But yeah, I'm gonna hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? What is a game you go back to on a yearly basis that is old for its time, showing its age that you just love more than anything in the world? Or is there a game in sort of the modern era that you enjoy and love going back to on a day-to-day basis? Let me know down below. I will be trying to get content up more frequently. Just let me hear what you guys think. Follow me on all social medias down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment your thoughts, subscribe if you're feeling generous, help your boy out. As anyways, I love you all. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.